You're listening to Edging the Truth.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Edging the Truth, your favorite conspiracy theory podcast. I am your host this week. My name is Andy. You can also call me Fudge. I'm joined by Mr. Brian Shenanigan and Red Rasmus, a.k.a. Dave, up there as well. We've got a super interesting topic for you this week. I'm super excited to get into it. I'm going to be leading the way. But before we do get into it, I want to remind you, please, if you're watching us on YouTube, like this video, comment, subscribe. Tell us what you want to see. Tell us what you think about this theory that we're about to get into. Go to www.edgingthetruth for all of your podcast needs. All of our episodes are there. You got links and ways to listen to them. You can listen to them directly on the website or wherever your favorite place to consume podcasts is. We have merch available as well. Don't forget about that. Check out our merch. Follow us on all of our social medias. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok at Edging the Truth. We appreciate all the support, and we'd love to keep it going. Tell a friend who tells a friend who tells a friend. With that being said, Brian, Red,
Yas Queen.
what do you guys know about Project Bluebeam?
I mean, when we first, I think this was maybe suggested a month or two ago, and I don't remember if we stumbled on it or if one of us found it and posted it, but it's been sitting there kind of gestating as a topic for a minute. And when you pulled it for this week and said, I think we should do this, I was so glad because, you know, we do try to stay away from politics and religion and that kind of stuff around here. It's not that they're off limits topics, but they tend to get, you know, people that talk about these sorts of things into trouble a lot of the time. And yet this one is just too full of politics and religion to ignore. It's just sort of, I feel like it's the perfect concept for bringing all of it together. Part of why it's clearly fake. It's too perfect to be true.
Brian, did you have any experience, I should say, or had you heard of Project Bluebeam before we started researching for it?
Not at all. No, I've heard elements of it as their own standalone conspiracy theories. I feel like this is just like a conspiracy theory fever dream where they're just like, oh, it's all happening, guys. It's just one thing. It's all happening. It's all in a coordinated plan. I mean, just any time there's something that involves the rapture has to happen in the middle of it. That's where I'm like, oh, I'm out. I'm out.
So if you haven't heard, we're go ahead, Red. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, especially one that is created by technology.
Absolutely. So you haven't heard, so we're going over Project Bluebeam today. So this is a theory that dates back to, originally from 1994. So this was a book written by a Canadian journalist. His name was Serge Monast. He investigated conspiracy theorists. He wrote a book called Project Bluebeam with NASA in parentheses, in which he detailed his claim that NASA, with the help of the United Nations, was attempting to implement a New Age religion with the Antichrist at his head and start a new world order via a technology-simulated second coming of Christ. He also gave talks on this topic. I'd like to also point out that cartoonist Christopher Knowles noted that the similarity of Project Bluebeam to the plots of Gene Roddenberry's unreleased 1975 Star Trek movie Treatment, The God Thing, and 1991 Star Trek The Next Generation episode, The Devil's Due.
That's my favorite piece of this.
He just ripped it off. He just ripped it off
That
of Star
episode?
Trek. Yeah. Initial thoughts, guys. The NASA and the United Nations have teamed up with the Antichrist.
You can stop right there.
Yeah.
You can stop right there. NASA and the United Nations having conversations together. We're talking about a United States government agency and an international governing body having conversations. I feel like this is apples
and one
and
of
oranges.
our least funded government agencies at this point.
Oh yes, that's right. The one that is increasingly irrelevant
Getting
in the
their
world today.
budget slashed. Yes. Reason why we have Elon going into space. Exactly. But
And the technologically created Antichrist second coming stuff, that is maybe the most fascinating thing to me, because I think you could actually get away with that part of it with today's, computer effects and technologies and stuff like that. You could make an AI a generated slash uh Unreal Engine slash the holographic projectors. You could do all of this stuff
don't say
and
that, bro. Don't say
convince.
that, because in 10 years we're gonna have the AI fucking religion, and there's gonna be a bunch of nuts saying, "Have
But I
you
mean,
heard
they're
the good
already
word about
doing this with.
computer?"
They're already doing this. How many times have we seen a Grammy Awards where somebody comes out and holographically dances and performs that's dead, or an Oscars where Marilyn Monroe comes out and it's a
How about
hologram?
Coachella?
Yeah, right. Didn't we see one like that last summer?
Yeah, they've had a
No.
bunch of them where like they had an entire like song done by a dead person's hologram.
Well,
Like
we
it's
just
like
saw
that's
a thing that was hot. That was Tom Segura. Tom Segura got beamed into Bert Kreischer's roast with some crazy projection thing. He couldn't actually be there, so they had some crazy door that opened, and they projected him into the doorway so that he could actually do his roast live, even though he wasn't there. Like,
yeah. We have one of those at Kimmel's. One of
if
those
they can do,
fucking
yes, all
doorway
right, because
things.
Jimmy pops in and it
Yeah,
just
because he
like will
pops in
just
and
be live.
fucking talks on it as his avatar, and the lips move and everything. Like it's like I've seen it.
I mean, this is doable by way less technologically savvy people than NASA.
Well, I mean, Drake is on tour right now, and part of his show is a hologram of his younger self that he's like sitting right next to on a couch. And I think I even saw a video of it like handing him something. So I don't know how the fuck they're pulling that off, but this is all like this
It's doable.
technology is not like super far out of the question for sure. So after Serge, started writing about all this, giving talks about it, going on TV shows about it. He started gaining some heat. By 95 and 96, Manes said he was being hunted by the police and the authorities for his involvement in networks of prohibited information. He had homeschooled his two children, who were then taken away and made wards of the state in September 1996 so that they could receive a public education. He died of a heart attack in his home in December 1996 at age 51, the day after being arrested and spending a night in jail. His followers claim his death was suspicious, suggesting he was assassinated by psychotronic weapons to keep him from continuing his investigations. Mel Gibson played Jerry Fletcher in the 1997 movie Conspiracy Theory that was modeled
Yes.
on our good friend Serge Manast.
Which by the way, that is a tentpole movie in my life for conspiracy theories. Like I was that when that movie came out, I was maybe my early 20s. When did that movie come out? 95, 6, 7, 8, somewhere in there.
7.
Yeah. So I was 25, and that movie hit all the right buttons for me for conspiracy theory getting turned into something in the real world. That one, and what was the other one with Will Smith and Gene Hackman, where Will Smith
Hackman.
he stumbles on the little Game Boy that has the assassination attempt on it.
State, was it.
Enemy of the State. Yes, thank you. Enemy of the State. There were a lot of movies at that era that kind of keyed into this, but conspiracy theory was the top. Now to find out later now that was based on a real person, that it was inspired by a real dude who clearly was spouting conspiracy theories from the top of the mountaintop. I mean, he started his own newspaper ostensibly to do this, right? The Canadian Free Press or something like that. To cover UFOs and conspiracy theories and all that sort of thing. So he definitely had a way to get this information out there. I don't know if I buy being hunted by the government. We are talking about the Canadian government, right?
Yeah.
He was a Canadian.
He literally just said he homeschooled his kids. It's not like he was in hiding. He was at home.
Yeah, and
Like,
is it
come on.
maybe I'm mistaken, but I guess can you not homeschool your kids in Canada? Is that against the law?
Dude, it's more that they were being homeschooled by a nut job that was, teaching his kids that up
Well,
was
I'm
down
not.
and the
Hey,
sky was black.
I bet there's a lot of kids that are homeschooled with parents like that. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Most of them,
And,
yeah.
and some of them end up being wards of the state, yo.
Do we take any stock into the fact that he died of a heart attack the night after spending a night in jail, like the day after? Were the police really after him?
No.
They slipped him something while he was in there.
No. He was stressed out from being arrested. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, it's
he
like
was a
all
big
that
man.
stuff. You don't know what fucking drugs he was on or alcohol
Mhm.
problems or anything else. He spent a night in jail. Probably fucking started to have a heart attack in jail that just fucking turned into a big one when he got home. It's like that's not surprising at all for a 51-year-old out of shape man to die after a night in police custody. Tales all the time, friends.
Yeah. Worst things have happened for sure.
So Red, we talked about this before we started. It's like super hard to find this book now, right? Like on paperwork, you really can't. And he wrote this stuff in the 90s, had a little bit of a following, and it kind of went away. In some of his talks in the 90s, he spoke about the government being able to use vaccines to control people. A couple years ago, COVID-19, the vaccines come around. This theory starts to pop back up, and you got some people talking about it. So I want to go through the steps because he wrote about 4 steps that they're going to go through that are already happening, by the way, allegedly. That NASA, the United Nations, and the Antichrist are doing to all of us. So step number 1.
By the way, before you do step number 1, we should also mention there is a third party involved, and that is this New World Order, right? The idea that there are puppeteers at the highest levels of society that have come together, whether it's the we've talked a little bit about the Rothschilds and some of these other sort of pseudo New world government sort of things, and that certainly is a big part of this. I think we should make sure not to,
for sure,
to forget that there are some unnamed puppet masters at the top of this that we will never find out about.
Because if we didn't have that, this story wouldn't make sense at all.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. This is the one thing that makes it believable. Damn it!
Because if we didn't cover this NWO, you'd be like, "That's all crap." But with that, you guys are gonna be on board.
I'm in.
We're at part 1.
Red, thank you for mentioning that. It actually is very important. So this New World Order, the idea is they are the ones, pulling the strings. They're going to strip everybody's ideals, take out your religion, just become one group, worldwide religion, one group, worldwide government, control, do basically everybody. That is their goal from this. So the first step to that is step 1, destroy religion. Engineered earthquakes and hoax discoveries. So basically, faking UFO sightings, faking, alien type stuff, engineering earthquakes in specific parts of the earth, to make people believe certain things. A quote from the book from Sir Monist. The first step in the NASA Bluebeam project concerns the breakdown of all archaeological knowledge. It deals with the setup, with artificially created earthquakes at certain precise locations on the planet of supposedly new discoveries, which will finally explain to all people the error of all fundamental religious doctrines. So basically, tear down everything the religion has said, tell people why it's wrong, and drill this new belief into their head. They said religious people are the most immune to propaganda, so separate them from the herd and make them feel like an outsider. And then at the end times, there's not going to be as many of them left. It'll be easier to, get rid of them,
convert them across.
What do you guys think about this? Like, so sending down, these holograms of whether it's a UFO or like a giant depiction of what people think Jesus looks like or what have you, like,
or Muhammad or any religious figure.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Whatever they want the head of their religion to look like or be. we're destroying religions over here. Brian, what do you think?
Oh man, I think religion's kind of destroying itself. I mean, first of all, I think technology and has kind of, you know, changed a lot of people's perception of religion. So you could just say technology in general has already kind of killed religion, and then even then, we all got religious people in our families. My aunt was a nun. I know how religious nut jobbery can be, like all the way to the highest culmination. So it's so in there. It seems like in these last 8-10 years, the conservative Christians have gotten more nuts, like
Yeah.
just more indoctrinated and stuff, and it's like made a orange haired demon their figurehead in Trump. It's like, I mean, you could call him a religion. People fucking believe in that guy. Like, no, put his face on everything. Like, they got Jesus and Trump up next to each other. There's your Antichrist right there. And there's, he killed how much of the population by not responding to COVID? There's your rapture. They got raptured. Got naturally raptured.
But I was supposed to die, Brian.
But I mean, it's like, yeah, I could see some of this, but a lot of this is like, it's like, yeah, like we're getting all these wash up on the beach. What's this alien thing we found on the beach? I mean, we seem to get a new one of those stories every week until somebody figures out, yeah, that's just some shit that was on the beach. Like, it's just, it's just trash. But it still like sensationalizes the stories. And like fracking creates artificial earthquakes in places that never had earthquakes. So it's like, we've made the artificial earthquakes. So it's just, I mean, I can make a list of stuff and be like, if these things happen, it's all going down.
If Twitter changes its name to X.
Yes, that we're at the end times. If Twitter changed to X, and now it is all the Illuminati, the Exati.
I mean, this is exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to point out how this stuff, like, you can actually point to shit that's going on that's like, oh, well, this kind of makes sense. Like, it relates to a lot of shit that's going on. You could point to, like, well, I know it's not actually happening, but you're like, oh, fuck, okay. Makes you think.
With all the stuff going on with priests and everything in the churches and whatnot, it's like, yeah, once again, religion's kind of killing itself. It's like,
and you look at the
place where all these pedophiles get shuffled around is not a place you want to take your family and children. Like, it's I mean, that is.
Well, and look at the difference of the widening gap between let's just talk about within Christianity. That's the only religion I have much experience with. I have a little experience in Buddhism and things like that, but within Christianity, the widening gap between traditional Christian religions, Lutherans and Catholics, and et cetera, and the Christian mega churches that are just Christian and really aren't going to tell you what brand of Christian they are. They don't really care.
That are just for money.
It's just for money. I mean, I've played hundreds of gigs in churches and of all different kinds, and I'm always amazed when I walk into a church that has, a $200,000 lighting system and $150,000 sound system, and they're paying 40 musicians to play their 3-night Christmas musical. Really? Like that's the mission of your church to put the money into those kinds of things? Really? Really?
You see them all over the place. They build their giant building with schools and all this other crap attached. It's a cash machine, and they fill that place every week. I mean, you see them all over. We got them all over Vegas. We got them in goddamn strip malls here. They pack them in there for the religious stuff. I mean, it'd be like that.
Well, and the flip side is the little tiny Catholic church I grew up going to looks exactly the same as it did in the 70s. The school across the street is still just as much of a piece of shit. It's exactly what you'd expect.
They've updated mine a little bit. So let's go to step 2. Step 2. It's pretty similar to step 1. It's holograms, fake UFOs, and demonic possession. So from our friend old Serge, there are 2 different aspects of step 2. The first is the space show. Where does the space show come from? The space show, the holographic images will be used in a simulation of the ending, during which all nations will be shown scenes that will be the fulfillment of which they desire to verify the prophecies of an adversary events. So basically, this New World Order is going to has special holographic simulations of doomsday and apocalypse scenarios for each country, depending on what they believe in and if there's any historical prophecies or anything like that. I don't know. I
And
don't know what.
and 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 that also assumes that everybody in a given country believes the same thing. Like,
Mhm.
really, you think you're gonna go? Let's just pick a place in America. You're gonna show a Christian based thing, and you're gonna have half the people be like, "Oh, that's some stupid shit." Uh, Either because they're not religious, or because their religion is something else. I think that seems. And then what's the idea? Okay, so that it's a special hologram that I would see something different than you would see when you look at it. Well, we know that ain't possible. They're beaming
Yeah.
the shit into our brains if they can do that.
Mhm.
Uh, so yeah, I do think it is funny that, we're in the grand heyday of UFO discussions right now, and The Exorcist is getting a formal sequel in a month. So there's demonic possession and there's UFOs. Done. Check. Step 2
Hell
done.
yeah. These will be projected from satellites onto the sodium layer about 60 miles above the Earth. We see tests every once in a while, but they are called UFOs and flying saucer sightings. So the UFOs sightings, those are all fake. Those are
It's
tests.
just warm up.
Those are a warm up. They're a test for the once again fake end of the world doomsday scenario, so they can take over. The New World Order can take over, excuse me, and wipe out religions, nations, and bring us all together, as they would like to think. So past step 2, we go on
Oh my
to
god. Oh my god. Can I just throw in a few step twos real quick?
you two step it up, my friend.
Oh my god. Like I'll take us 2 steps to the edge every other week.
Yeah.
But it's man, like we have the sphere here in Las Vegas, okay? And UFO sightings have gone up here 1,600% since they turned on that sphere like a month ago. So and yeah, I mean, you can see that shit from space. You can see the sphere from space. And we are making a Earth and a moon and all that stuff on the sphere. And yeah, of course, that's why we're seeing more aliens, because they're like, what's that over there? But the point is, that thing draws so much power to turn on that giant television screen. Okay, like, and so you're telling me that we can project holograms from what, space or the ground onto a sodium layer, and who's powering that? Where's enough power to do all that? Like, and I didn't know there was sodium. Where do we get sodium from? Is that salt? What would we put
Oh no,
salt?
it's already
Salt in the
there,
air?
man.
I would just say like this. Part of this is the plot of Secret Invasion that just came out, which is the worst piece of Marvel I've ever seen. As a side note, but
Yeah.
that's kind of the same plot where they're trying to blow up the Earth so that the scrolls can survive. Like
But they're also trying to trick everybody into believing it's somebody else. I think that's the interesting part, that it is conspiracy theory within it,
well, and
Right.
I went back and looked up that Star Trek episode, like that one that was, because I'm a big Trek fan, and that was like that Ardra episode where it was like this con man that came in and was like shaking the planet and doing all this stuff with holograms, and I'm like, that wasn't even one of like the most memorable episodes. That was kind of a
No.
footnote episode. That's why it's like this.
That's
this
why he
was a
thought he could
garbage
get away
theory
with it.
then.
So he thought nobody would notice.
Yeah. Well, because
But
he is French. I mean, he's French Canadian.
but yes, we could project. If we could project good holograms, I could see that. But we're still so far behind on hologram technology. Like, period. I mean, until it's like, help me.
Wait,
Obi-Wan
we were just
Kenobi, my
talking
only
5
hope.
minutes ago how fucking cool the hologram tech
I
is.
know, but not at a. It's not at a. You can't, like, you could do a person. You can't do a crowd. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Okay.
it's not powerful enough to do to project it on the sky and make it look like, this is the word of God. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
but
it's like,
dude,
it's
we're
just
gonna get there. This is still in process, man. We're building up to it.
Yeah,
We're building up to it.
exactly, Brian. You just don't believe in
Well, I guess this leads us right into step 3, because step 3 is what it would take for me to believe this is
Well,
fucking
but it's
happening.
okay.
Yeah.
But before we do step 3, I have a really good idea. Maybe it's just a really good Stony idea, but it's a really good idea. We need our own. We've been saying since day one, we need our own conspiracy theory that we propagate. Why aren't we propagating a conspiracy theory about the sphere in Vegas?
People are shooting at it, bro.
I
People are
mean, I
shooting
think
at
this is a natural subject for what it is. We could say it's a secret NASA experiment to attract UFOs to the
Mhm.
desert where they could do their secret research. I mean, I feel like the sphere is
the inside is a
Pandora's
state-of-the-art
box.
screen that goes 340 degrees around the audience, so we could say that that's there meant to hypnotize large groups of
Brainwashing.
people.
Yeah, we're
Oh my
brainwashing
God,
people
because they want to put spheres everywhere, guys.
Yeah, they
Oh
do.
my God.
It's James
And they're
Dolan, the guy
and
that
they're-
owns the Knicks.
And they're partnering with Amazon to make the spheres because Amazon
Oh.
has spheres in different cities.
Amazon's
They've got a
gonna
bunch
put
in
a sphere on the
Seattle.
moon.
We're fucked.
I'm just saying Amazon
You heard it
plus
here first, folks.
NASA
The sphere.
equals Project Purple Balls. I don't know what we call it.
Project Purple Balls.
Eyeballs.
It is. Look out for that dropping soon. Let's
Step 3.
let's get
Step
this
3.
train back on the rails. Step 3: telepathic electronic two-way communication. Which I know what you're thinking. What the fuck does that mean? It's essentially mind control. Our boy Serg, I got a couple quotes here, fellas. So strap in. If it is possible to feed artificial thought into the multigenic field via satellite, the mind control of the entire planet is now possible. Once again, it is wise to consider how television, advertising, modern education, and various types of social pressure are used to manipulate those boundaries. I don't disagree with the second part.
Yeah.
Brainwashing the whole world, I don't know about that. There's too many remote parts of the world where they are not connected with any of this shit. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
Brian, you have a
damn
look
it.
on your face.
Because I'm actually gonna plug some fucking plausibility into this goddamn
Let's go!
conspiracy, and I don't
Yeah,
want to
it's
fucking do it.
your fault. It's your fault from here on
Because
out if we
Elon
start to
Musk
get on
just
board.
released that whole Starlink low Earth orbit satellite system that gives global coverage everywhere for fucking internet and phone and stuff. Just released, just came out. It was a system they used when they lost the submarine.
Oh no!
But it is a cheap. That's the cheap consumer level satellite they're selling out there right now. Is his Starlink system that's being sold as good for all remote areas. And there is a second company called OneWeb that just put up another constellation of low Earth orbit satellites. These are not like, we're not talking this is 6 satellites. They're like 600 satellites with backups up there in the sky right now.
Wow.
For both of these constellations.
For each
there
company,
is so much satellite. Each company, yeah. Like I forget how many, because I don't know offhand. I just know how much Starlink has, but like Elon Musk has so many satellites up there. They've been launching them forever. They launch them 6, 8, 10 at a time in these launches. So because the satellite does not a 1-for-1 with a rocket, they put a bunch of them up there and they throw them up there. I mean, it's still just a thing the size of like a Mini Cooper. Yeah, they just throw them up, and there's hundreds of them up there now that cover everything. I'm selling the service. I'm telling you guys, like it's like, but yeah. So if you're talking about you're trying to make a system of stuff that could mind control the planet, you know how much it takes to get that global coverage. I'm just saying, it's there now.
Red, what do you think?
I was gonna say I feel like there have been some pretty good successes with half measures of control. QAnon. Or maybe the Nazi Party. Like we've had some historical
Reddit.
brainwashing of people en masse, but not ever in total. Like not like everybody, maybe, you know,
Mm-hmm.
hoaxes, things like the War of the Worlds broadcast or whatever, you know, that people bought into that, but you mean to tell me everybody believed that? I'm pretty sure there were some people that were like, it's the radio. They're doing a story, you know, somebody must have fucking said that. So while I do believe that the technology and the infrastructure for some kind of global projections and stuff like that might be possible in the future, the mind control part, I'm just not. I don't buy it. I don't buy mind control as a thing. I buy hypnosis maybe and suggestion and some things like that,
Dude,
but just mind control, beaming new ideas into my brain from space. Yeah, I'm not
maybe
down.
not that, but I'll throw this out there. So it's like talks about television advertising. Think about like, dude, our phones, they're all smartphones. They're listening to us at all times. So we're getting fucking targeted ads. It's
Mm-hmm.
using we're getting algorithms on all
For
of our
sure.
fucking social medias now to show us what it thinks we want to see all the time. So like maybe not beaming it directly into your brains, but like they can fucking control what you
Yeah, I
see,
mean,
what
I even go
and
into cell
what you
towers.
consume, right?
That's literally a thing that's around us right now, shooting waves at us to connect to this box that's sitting on my desk. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the cell tower's range right now, which means I am in the cell tower's, field of emitting whatever waves it's emitting for these two things to talk with data. That's
And yeah,
going into my brain right now. I'm in that environment. It's like being too close to power lines. I'm telling you
well,
guys. I'm telling.
if
Why is this sounding more plausible to me? God damn it!
Yeah,
Stop step three.
exactly, dude. Think
Stop
about
step
this.
three.
Think about this. TikTok. Like, dude, the younger generation, bro, they're not watching regular television. They're watching TikTok and they're watching YouTube videos.
Mm-hmm.
They're
yeah,
not consuming the traditional what we would have grown up on as, sitting down at the TV a Sunday at 7 o'clock, whatever's on, right?
yeah,
And then now,
yeah.
of course, it's been fuck
I'm not
15.
consuming it that way anymore. I
No,
don't watch
no,
regular
no,
TV.
no,
That's
nobody
what I'm
is.
saying.
I'm
Yeah.
nobody is. I'm just talking about traditionally, like you think about when you're growing up, like you're a kid or like you're a teenager, you're still living at home, right? Where now, whereas now it's all streaming, where you can consume everything all at once, if they even are. There's so much content, it's overwhelming at this point. You like don't even know what to watch,
Yeah.
and in order to actually get through something, everybody there's on social media, everybody just loves to shit on everything, so it's got to be really good, or nobody watches it, or just gets shit on, or it just never gets picked up again. But I don't know. I guess my point is the way that these algorithms are working on TikTok, the way that it's being consumed by all the younger generation, they absolutely can shape the way that, people in
People
general
think.
think and what they
Yeah.
want them to think and see. So like
Well, I
this
mean,
whole go ahead.
it's just I was gonna say it's like it's the same as the suggested stuff or the ads that you
Right.
see on YouTube, right? Isn't it seems like it's always crazy that you'll just every so often you'll go on YouTube and you'll just get a rash of ads about a specific thing.
Yeah,
Right
they're
now in my
listening
state,
to you.
it's yeah. Right now in my state, every time I watch a YouTube video, I get ads for solar power.
Oh,
Do
me
you
too.
want to get a deal on solar power? Like that's the thing, right? Fuck. Somebody is putting a lot of money into buying advertising for solar power. So somebody's agenda is to push solar power, and therefore it gets all of us seeing these ads, and it gets us thinking, maybe I need to have solar power. Well, guess what? I bought an Anchor power bank that has a solar charger. Did I buy it because it has ability to have a solar charger because I saw the ad and it planted the seed of like, well, maybe you should get something that has solar power. Who knows? I don't know, but
Mhm.
I also know that if I hadn't seen 50 solar power ads in the last 2 months, I might not have. So for sure, I'm with the idea that there can be people, but again, I come back to, but somebody has to write that check, and it's definitely not NASA writing the check. It has to be whoever these New World Order people are. And if
Mhm.
they're writing checks, then there has to be paper trails. And if there's paper trails, then we know who they are. So they're not some
But they're
mysterious people.
I mean, I guess, you know, going along those lines, I guess that the government really cares about how much I shave up my downstairs area because, man, I get so many of those ads. Everybody wants me to trim my balls for some
Manscaped.
reason. That's all I get.
You got to
I
get
don't
that
hear nothing about solar
Sasquatch
panels.
soap.
Yeah, I guess I didn't realize how much the government knew about my pube length. That they're like, this point he's shaving.
It's
Constantly.
getting real out of hand.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, the whole thing here, it's brainwashing. It's to make you
Yeah.
question everything you see and you hear. They want you to make sure that you never know if what's going on is real or not. So it's just all in question. You're constantly questioning yourself, other people, what's going on. Is this real? Am I in a simulation?
Sounds like people that just went and saw The Matrix.
Mm-hmm.
Or a magic show.
Yeah.
It's like Copperfield. He changed my
Shut
whole fucking outlook.
Shut the fuck up.
Is
Or
it The
magic.
Matrix or is it a magic
Yeah.
show?
Yeah.
All right, so we got one step left, right?
Yeah, step 4, my friend. Universal supernatural manifestations via electronics. I don't know what this is really supposed to mean, but let's see what Serge has to say about it. According to the many reports we have received, we believe it will begin with some kind of worldwide economic disaster. Not a complete crash, but enough to allow them to introduce some kind of in-between currency before they introduce their electronic cash to replace all paper or plastic money.
PayPal.
Venmo.
Bitcoin,
all
other
the
fucking
crypto shit. Yeah.
all the crypto shit that now crashed and lost people millions of dollars
Yeah.
and is turning into a big worldwide scam and money laundering thing for drug dealers. Yeah, that thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's gonna take over the world, dude.
So we're in on it.
I mean, I think I have a bunch of random like different like platforms of currency somewhere in a wallet. Like, I don't know.
Oh, I do. I do. I still have Toys R Us bucks in a folder somewhere.
I bet you do.
Red's
Red's just
put
got
all his money in Toys R Us bucks.
Yeah, Red's
Wait,
got just
wait.
Red's
Wait,
got hella
just wait
Coles
for it.
cash.
I got a bunch of Bed Bath & Beyond coupons. Y'all,
Yeah.
I'm gonna make it to the end of the world.
I mean, it would be impressive if I could just reach over and pull those out.
He's shuffling.
Oh, what do you know?
He's shuffling.
There they are, right there.
There they are. Huh? We now know where Red's retirement book is. Everybody.
I mean, there's some real stuff in here. Look, see, there's some gold.
Yeah, if anybody's planning on robbing Red, you know where
It's
where
right
the
You gotta
blood-
find-
underneath
You
the
got to find a
computer.
nondescript white binder in
Yeah.
this menagerie
In this
of
sea
garbage.
white binders.
Oh shit. Well, let's kind of wrap this up, guys. So we've gone through the 4 steps.
Yes.
Project Bluebeam, is this happening right now, or is this are we in on this? Are we out on this? Brian, I kind of feel like as the steps went on, you were convincing yourself more of it, and I'm in on that. If
I'm in on
anything.
that too.
It's just like through all these steps, like I said, I had heard a lot of these as individual conspiracies, and a lot of these elements of them are happening. You know, it is a default of, frankly, us moving into a modern era that, you know, things that people believed in to like get them through the day don't need to be done before, because they spend every waking moment occupying their brain with stuff and not thinking about the existential dread that life is sucks and we're all going to die, you know? So it's kind of like, it's like all of a sudden, yeah, I don't need to go my once a week to have something that I believe in that makes my life meaningful, because I got, you know, I can stream whatever the hell I want. I have the entire world's knowledge at my fingers if I just type it in, and I can buy anything I want. It's delivered to me like I'm in the old West days of prairie and, you know, mail order. So I mean, it's parts of this, yes. This thing as a whole, and this guy, no, nut job. If you said, if they can base a mediocre episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation on your entire theory, and they wrap it up in an hour, like it's like that's not no. And yeah, when you got Mel Gibson playing you and stuff, like no, it's there's a lot of I say there's some else. Project Bluebeam is project full of shit. I mean, people said that Scientology was the Antichrist religion that was going into this. Now, I mean, I've heard more than one person say that Trump is the Antichrist because, like I said, he's trying to destroy everything he touches, including the world. So it's like, yeah, I could definitely see that, especially if that dude gets reelected. I'm like, oh no, we are in the end times. Like, if he actually gets after all this, he still gets reelected. I'm like, yeah, we're in the end times for sure. For sure.
We'll point back to this episode of you.
Yep.
You relating
prophesizing,
it to him.
But I won't be here because I'll be raptured away because that's how it works.
Yeah, but you only the true believers get raptured, Brian.
Don't I get like some kind of proxy because my aunt was a nun and she prayed for me for so many days? I got it in the bank. That's all I'm saying. I got a lot of prayers in the bank.
They say it don't work like that. Well, my argument is that the whole last 20 years to discredit Mel Gibson as a person has been to cover up the true value of his contribution to society, which is covertly alerting us to all of these conspiracy theories in this wonderful Richard Donner movie. I'm saying that the New World Order knew that Mel Gibson was a threat to them when he made this movie, and they were like, we're closing that guy down. We're doing holographic effects to make it sound like he's saying anti-Semitic stuff. We're going to beam words into his mouth from space. And I don't care.
I guess all of a sudden we're a very pro Mel Gibson podcast as
just
well.
About.
But you heard it here first.
I will say, and I do think it's interesting, and I was thinking about this earlier in some of the steps, you know, for example, you know, AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, everything used to be about, you know, releasing yourself to God, right? Like it was religious, it was religious based, and now it is a higher power, and your higher power can be anything. It can be Mother Earth, it can be the spirits at large, it can be, you know, whatever. And I think that in and of itself is just sort of an interesting marker in terms of how the greater public, at least in America, perceives and sees religion, that religion and spirituality are not necessarily things that have to go hand in hand. You can be a spiritual person without being religious, and more people are adopting that kind of thing. So if the goal is to break down religions and get everybody on board with one religion, I feel like that's an impossible thing, because there's just not a lot. There's just too many people that are not on board with religion as a thing. They're into the spiritual thing. They want to go to fortune tellers or tarot cards, or they want, you know, to read their astrology or any of those sorts of things. I think are akin to replacements for religion for a lot of people. And if you want to do this, let's start putting stuff in the newspaper every week and changing the astrology things. I mean, we can affect more people that way.
I mean, I don't know what more we can add on this besides fun to talk about.
Happy to do it.
Happy to do it. Totally.
It's a great idea for a movie.
It is. That's my
James
thought.
Bond should take on a guy that's trying to do this.
It is a great idea for a movie, sending people down to, you know, different regions of the world. And, you know, my thought is, sending them, like you're sending down fucking people, religious people or whatever, to try to convert in each region of the world. And then, you know, there's one of them that ends up, you know, falling for the culture or wherever he gets sent, right? And he helps them fucking escape and saves the world and turns on it. And then he realizes he's a hologram and his life doesn't really matter. And he kind of goes to an existential crisis. But then he comes back and he saves the day. I don't know.
You just told me the story of Superman.
It was a good pitch. No, we're gonna fucking take that.
Yeah.
And I just realized also that this wasn't a lot of the plot for that movie, The Kingsman, where he was controlling people with satellites.
Yes, that is correct. That Sam Jackson was controlling people's mind with satellites. There's many movies with satellites as the protagonist,
that was a very
if you will.
interesting choice.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I remember we talked about this with weather, like people controlling the weather. The Avengers movie, not the Marvel Avengers movie, but the TV show Avengers movie with Sean Connery, where he's a mad scientist controlling the weather with satellites and all that sort of thing. It's all this seems so ridiculous. You'd have to be somebody you'd have to be Elon Musk to have the money and the resources and all of those things to do it. And that's, look at James Bond, for example. Look at all the villains in the James Bond movies. They're fabulously wealthy, always. These guys never live in poverty. They're always, look, the guy in Moonraker, he owns space, space fabrication laboratories. The guy in the one with Terry Hatcher, he's like a giant media mogul and has control over all of the different press. He's got television stations and he's got newspapers and these guys are
I
always
forgot that one. That
full
one
of resources and money. So if we're gonna pick a villain, it's not gonna be some scientist at NASA. It's gonna be some fabulously wealthy person like an
It's
Elon
Elon,
Musk.
baby.
I mean, he
Digging
seems
tunnels
like
under Las Vegas right
maybe
now.
Jeff Bezos. Maybe Bezos. I could believe that Bezos could be a super villain from a James Bond movie.
Because he's bald.
But
Yeah.
also
Bald
too,
and he's got that fucked up eye.
these people are way too boring to be super villains. I'm sorry.
I get it.
Yeah.
Well, Project Bluebeam, ladies and gentlemen, tell us what you think in the comments. Are you in? Are you out? Seems like we're pretty out on this one. Fun theory, but just a little bit too out there for us, as it usually is on the show. We thank you all for tuning in. I remind you, if you're tuning in on YouTube, please like this video, comment, subscribe to the channel. We're up to, I think, 160 subscribers now. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
We
Yes.
really appreciate that. Want to keep that growing, help us get to 200, and then on from there. Speaking of following us, please follow us on Twitter. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Follow us everywhere at Edging the Truth. We're posting clips regularly and information about the show. Speaking of information about the show, you can call our voicemail line, 917-979-6071. Didn't remember the number without Red here the last time Brian and I were recording, which I think went pretty well, besides
Went
Brian
great,
leaving in the
boys.
middle to take a shit. But we got through that.
I'm
917.
I'm proud of you too.
Thank you. 917-979-6071. Call the voicemail. You got a theory that you want to share, a special story, comments on what stuff we've said, stuff you want to hear. We won't ever talk to a real person. You'll just leave a voicemail, and we will talk about it on the show. www.edgingthetruth.com. We've got our merch on there as well. T-shirts. We've got mouse pads, hats. We've got a Ouija board. We've got a bunch of different shit in the shop. Please, this is the best way for to support the show. Really helps us out. If you like what you hear / see, please check out our merch. For Red Rasmus, for Brian Shenanigan, I am Big Fudge Daddy. This is Edging the Truth, and we're out of here.
Visit edgingthetruth.com for more information and links to all our social media and podcast directories.